So I want to make this very, very clear. Dementia is not a disease. It's a set of symptoms. It's a condition being caused by certain diseases. Okay. So, and here's my visual. It's an umbrella term. It's a very broad term. Okay. So what is causing those symptoms called dementia? That's kind of the connecting piece. So Alzheimer's disease, the one we've probably all heard about,
Hmm.
that's number one cause of dementia. Okay, statistically, if we look at the research, it says about 60 to 85% of all dementia cases are Alzheimer's. But second, very important point here is not all dementia is Alzheimer's, okay? So, for example, other diseases such as vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, which is actually the number two most common cause of dementia, and a lot of us have never heard of Lewy
No.
body dementia, but there's other diseases, and the progression, the areas that it affects in the brain, and when it gets to those areas is different. So that's why I like to clarify, and for families, it takes time, hang in there. But I encourage you, if you hear dementia, we need to get a title at some point. What is causing the dementia? Okay.
I think that's so interesting because I mean, I've learned that from talking to you, but how many people do you think on average know that it's an umbrella?
It's very, I'd say very small, Tabitha. It's very widely used. Dementia. How many times
Yeah.
have you heard someone say we have mom has dementia or right? And so we're not fed in that information. And where it comes into play for what I do with my care partners and being a coach is, for example, Lori, Tabitha, if you're dealing with Lewy body dementia,
Mhm.
okay, and it's not Alzheimer's disease, here's one big difference. Alzheimer's is memory, first thing to be affected, first thing to go. With Lewy body, you could have hallucinations, such as people, children, um, very frightening. Your dreams are real. So if you have a
Mhm.
nightmare, it's real. You don't have something telling you it's different, but your memory may be intact.
See, that's
So
so
see the difference
interesting.
here now? So the way you interact with someone with that, the way you may answer a question, the progression, the lifespan is different. So that's where, we're big on education and empowerment. So
Mhm.
that's where I just encourage families. And then for us, it took time. It took time to get that specific title, but it was very important. So we knew exactly what we were dealing with.
Yeah, and you may talk about this a little bit later, so I may be jumping the gun,
Okay.
but based on what you said, it makes me think that most people hear the word dementia and
Mhm.
they just automatically treat it as Alzheimer's. And so if they have someone in one of the other categories, they're just increasingly getting frustrated.
You nailed it.
Okay.
You're going to get more frustrated, less motivated.
Mm.
This wall and barrier between you and this person is going to grow very fast and very rapidly. We could call it a powder keg waiting to burst. It's not going to be helpful for anyone. So, education is very important. And someone like me, a coach that we'll talk more about, that can explain these things and guide you, we need to know our opponent. So this is step one in knowing that.
And the doctor is not going to automatically tell them, right? You have to
Um,
specify.
and again, some doctors may be more educated on this condition. Remember, we usually go to a family doctor when we
Mhm.
notice something. Family doctor is going to do their best. Family doctor may not be a specialist in that area. So sometimes in that area, I'm not a mechanic. I can change a tire, but don't trust me to take care of everything for your car. you know, so that's where sometimes that dementia is just so commonly used. But let me go back to the doctors. Here is a piece, Tabitha, to answer that question. It often takes time. So in a CT scan, you're not going to see dementia.
Mhm.
In an MRI, you're not going to see dementia. Okay, maybe in a PET scan, but what I'm saying is early on, the doctor may only have information that says I can see something going on,
Yeah.
right? I can see the symptoms. I'm not sure yet what is causing it. So we'll give the doctors a break, an understanding in that. But It's okay to ask for a referral to a specialist like a neurologist. You know,
Mhm.
that's maybe where we can get more information. That's how I received it. So again, just a starting point, great information to have in your back pocket if or when you ever need that.
Love that. I mean, so that's such like a powerful distinction for us to start
Absolutely.
off with. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, going off of that, I will say warning signs and common symptoms. Again, usually looks like a duck, quacks like a duck. We call it Alzheimer's, right? Um,
Right.
but so let me say I'm going to talk about dementia overall today. Okay. So these are warning signs that you may see at different points in the journey. For Alzheimer's, these are the things you'll probably see early on, but very common still when we're talking about dementia overall. Okay.
Okay.
So loss of memory sounds pretty common, but the key here is things that are not in that person's common nature. Okay. So you know me. You've seen my office and my computer. I have sticky notes all around my computer, sometimes write messages on my hand so I don't forget, but that's what I've always done, right?
Right. Okay.
Someone like my mother, very sharp. It seems like she can look at something and memorize it. She doesn't do any of those things. So for her, if I started noticing that out of her nature, not
Hmm.
normal, relying more on memory aids and things like that, that may be a clue that something's going on there with her. And it can be as simple as the phone rings and you say to me, "What is that?" I don't know what to do. I
Oh.
don't answer the phone. So sometimes those things can happen. And language problems is in the sense of sometimes jumbled words or words
Hmm.
that don't make sentences that don't make sense. But also for someone that maybe English isn't their first language, you may
Hmm.
notice them reverting because remember we go back in time, so they'll revert back to that first language, what they've known the longest. So that can be another sign. Difficulty in doing everyday things, right? Buttoning a shirt, answering a phone, tying your shoes can be
Hmm.
can be common. Getting confused in time or space, sometimes seasonal as well. Is it night, 6 p.m. at night or 6 a.m. in the
Yeah.
morning? And that reasoning, and we go back to the brain. Dementia is a brain condition, brain disease. So everything's controlled by the brain. So things we may not consider or think about, like that thing that you think in your head, but you don't say out loud. We've all had that moment.
Yeah.
That's your brain working, sending message, Tabitha, that's not appropriate. Keep that to yourself. We take it for granted. And we joke, some people we say they don't have that filter, but it's a real thing in your brain. So reasoning, logic. The reason I teach and say logic and reality doesn't get you very far when dealing with dementia, you've just seen why here on this slide. If that's taken away, that's not going to interpret to that person having difficult, elaborate thoughts. If you lose your pen, Tabitha, you're able to stop and retrace your steps.
Hmm.
The office, I went to the conference room. Dementia doesn't allow that process. Again, that message isn't getting through. So oftentimes these two go hand in hand, loss of objects. It's easy to maybe put something down or hide something and then you have no recollection that you did it. So here comes a lot of times the accusations of caregivers.
Oh, yeah.
My daughter is always stealing, or that person closest to them is usually blamed. And I'm not saying never believe what a person with dementia tells you, right?
Right.
Um, but now you understand their version is their version. And if I walk you through slowly that process, there's nothing telling you. You have zero recollection. Anyone's been here, anyone's taken it. So if I put
Mhm.
myself in your shoes, that makes perfect sense. I would think the same thing. So
That
now
makes
we're kind of
perfect sense.
adding that. Yeah, now we're starting to understand it on a human level. I would feel the same way, right? So this is
Mhm.
where we enter kind of how do we communicate and connect by understanding these things.
I
So
remember
mood
JT.
changes. The point here is,
I
yeah,
remember one thing that I really learned from you is we were working on a case together, and someone who was a very proper lady had dementia, and her family members were coming to you concerned with, because all of a sudden she was using very potty mouth language.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you had told me, which I just thought was so astounding, um, as they lose thought of language, they can still remember the emotion.
You're right. So there is, let's call it a sweet science about that cursing, which, again, for someone who's lived this personally, that woman who raised me would curse. And, I took it personal.
Mhm,
It hurt. Sometimes I was blamed. But once I had this piece of information, you
mhm,
talk about empowerment. I'm human, but some days it helped me not take it so personal. The
mhm,
biggest key here was now I could see the message she was communicating and I could, again, respond. So the short of that story is don't say it out loud, Tabitha, but how long have we known about curse words, right? When's you first hear one? We know when to use them. My
mhm,
sweet grandmother, who never said one, knew what they meant. Probably raising us had moments where she said it in her head.
mhm,
But now dementia comes in, okay? And dementia takes away that filter that says you wouldn't do that. That's a curse word. Don't say that. But we know the emotions behind it, right? And in the
yeah,
world of dementia, when you're being told no, don't, you can't, it's not, having lots of moments of confusion, loss, what do you think those emotions are attached to those words, right? When I
yeah,
understand that I could look behind the words to the emotions, my grandmother was having a bad day in that moment. Something's off in her environment in
mhm,
that moment. She is feeling the loss of one of those seven human needs in this moment. So again, I think we're learning a lot already, but when we talk about the person's always bigger than the disease, right?
mhm.
They are still human, but just like any of us, Tabitha, if you still had to express, communicate, get attention, have needs filled, but you cannot do it the way we normally do, all these things will come into play. So hopefully already it doesn't feel as frightening as scary. We're still in there. We're still human, but the world's different now for both of us. So these things are very important to know. So behavioral changes, yes, can happen. You're easily frustrated. You're feeling loss. The loss of initiative. Let me explain this. Dementia does not make people lazy. Okay, it's not. It's not that. It again goes back to that becomes too hard. It's too frustrating. Loss of enjoyment, and maybe
Mhm,
sometimes realizing it's not like it used to be, so I no longer do. That's
mhm.
where that comes in.
That I feel like we've already like gone over
I know
so
we so
many.
so some of this we can probably move through fairly quickly as
Okay.
simple review, but this is just another visual that I know will be posted so people can take their time with these. But why is it so difficult? We just kind of went through that. When all those things are happening, yeah,
Mhm,
it's very it makes much sense that you would easily get frustrated, that you would be a little more agitated, more suspicious. But let me say this, dementia does not make people violent. Okay. Right. You
mhm.
can now see all these things would frustrate, change any of us if that's
That
going
was
on.
an aha moment.
Right.
I've never considered, I guess I did think that dementia made some people violent.
Well, and again, it's that fine distinction, just like
Mhm,
not to, embarrass anybody, but those other taboo areas, sexual issues, sexual language, right?
mhm.
It goes back, let me drill it down. Some things just feel great, and there's nothing telling you not socially appropriate, don't do it. They don't want you to do right. That's not getting through.
Okay.
Again, being agitated and upset or aggressive, I misinterpreted your situation, your movements. Um, I'm not sure you didn't explain what you're doing. I could go down the list. There's a lot of reasons. So I go back to easy to get upset and agitated, but doesn't make them violent. And so
Mhm.
there is that thin line of distinction there.
Gosh, this is so powerful. We
And
kind
so
of,
a lot of these we just talked about again, but just to review, all these things are possible. Now, if you've met one person with dementia, you've met a human being that has a brain disease. So again, may not happen to every single person. It's all
Mhm.
possible, but these are just very common things that can occur.
Okay. So, JT, let's pause for just a second. Who gives you the right to
Yeah.
talk about any of this? Like, explain a
Why
little.
am I worthy? Yeah. And first of all, funny you said that because I've been doing this for over 16 years. And when I speak or meet new family caregivers, so far, every time afterwards, someone comes up to me and says, I was waiting for you to say the wrong thing. I was waiting for you to show me that you had no idea what you were talking about. Right.
Mhm.
And I'm so honored to get that. But it also made me realize anytime I speak, the first thing that comes out of my mouth is, I want you to know I was a caregiver first. I was you. I didn't plan on this. This wasn't in my future. In my mid 20s, I became the caregiver. It became personal. My dreams of law school went to the side. This was my mission. So before I knew it, I'd found a great not national organization that let me in the door. I stayed there for 11 years. I was the family services coordinator. So first, I lived this. And speaking to other caregivers, the stuff I just walked you through, usually not in the book, not what you heard in the doctor's office or in that brochure, but also like I did with you, Tabitha, I gave you real life examples, the connections, the cursing example, the way I connected and explained it. I'm going to guess you maybe have never heard it that way before. So that's where the two worlds collide. I am what I am because I lived it, but also I'm professionally trained. I've earned my titles. I'm a dementia practitioner, which in essence means expert. I use that loosely because no one knows it all. But my job is to train, speak, work with families, consult with anyone that wants to make a better journey for the person they care for. So here's how I can help. My company, REMT Care Partner Coaching. This is what we do. We walk that journey with families. We answer questions. We strategize. We give support. We never judge. We mediate family discussions when we need to. So in essence, truly, I can say I walk that journey with you the whole way through. And yes, dementia care can be hard. I won't lie, but I'm telling you, I'm with you every step of the way. So it also, people need to know they're not alone. People need to sometimes have a conversation with someone that's been there, and we can go to that place someone else has never done it can. I think I'm blessed to be doing this. I'm here for anyone that ever needs me, and I don't have all the answers, and I don't tell you what to do, but I'll be in it with you. I'll give you everything I have. I'll make sure you have the information to know this is what's best for us.
And we have a lot more to go through too.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. So let's move through this.
thank you so much. And just in case anyone cares, my name is Tabitha Justice. I am the owner of Just Us Retirement. What we are is an education based company that focuses on retirement as a whole. Health and wealth go together. And there's a lot of gaps in care. So we partner with lots of experts like JT because you don't know what's coming and you got to start planning for it. And education and preparation is really the key to having a good retirement.
Yeah.
So back to
So
you, JT.
So Tabitha, I'm big on visual. I'm a visual learner. If you haven't
Mhm.
caught on, guys. So again, look at this later, take this in, but no better explanation of look, everything is affected by dementia. The way we think, the way we react to social situations, movement, vision. This is just a great visual to show you. Really explains everything. Breathing, swallowing is controlled by the brain. So when those messages are not getting through, this is where those different things come in.
Okay.
And believe it or not, as we said, people with dementia still communicate. Simplest definition of a behavior, communication is a behavior that sends a message, right? So we've already touched on this, but yeah, they still do it, but now have to in different ways. So just great to know because again, empowerment, when I knew this, I understood it's not what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's how I'm saying it, how I look, Do I look believable? Do I look like I'm in a rush? Do I look like I want to be here? That's what they're reading. Nonverbal, their world's 93% nonverbal. So I'm watching your body language, your movements, your aura. But this also teaches us we have a lot of power in creating the mood for someone with dementia. It rubs off. You
Yeah,
know,
I had never really thought about from the perspective of the person who's receiving care that
mhm.
you have to be really careful about your
Sure.
body language. So,
Sure. We still have fight or flight. So as soon as and eyesight's the dominant sense. So
mhm,
as soon as you come in my eyesight, I'm assessing everything. Are you safe?
mhm,
Should I give you a chance? What are you here
yeah,
for? And again, even as family, we definitely take that for granted. So you may go in mom's room and get her laundry like you do every day. And then
mhm,
at some point, maybe after one day, she starts telling neighbors or people or you even that someone's stealing, right?
yeah.
And naturally, we're like, moms, just think someone's stealing. What we didn't consider was with her visual changes, with the lighting. You're her daughter, so you never thought to say, hey, mom, just going to grab these sheets. All she saw was a body. That
Oh,
So was it real? Well, the emotion and feeling was real, but daughter would have never thought to say, so again, now we know, give her some indication just to be safe, right? I could eliminate this possibility by maybe just letting her know. But it's new to us. The point here is also new to us as care partners. So take time. You won't be perfect. But with this understanding, we now have the toolbox filled to be able to be what we need to be.
that just gave me chills all over. I
Gave me
mean,
a little, but yeah,
yeah, just the power of like people don't often have this as a resource, someone coaching them through like announce yourself when you walk in the room. Makes like those are things I would have never thought about
and
because
you're not alone. And let me say this: I wasn't perfect. When it's personal, it all goes out the window. So a
mhm,
lot of these things I learned. I had moments, honestly, where I, in my head, was saying, "I hope that person's right that taught me this because it felt a little different."
mhm,
Right? It
yeah,
wasn't the normal way, but I saw the results. Gave me more confidence. Those situations kept happening. So the more I'm in those situations, the more it became a little natural. And that's what happens to all of us as care partners. I didn't have the coach to cheerlead me along the way. So, but now you do. Now you do.
ah, this is so good, JT.
And sums it all up.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever had, I know someone out here, have you ever had the moment? Dad's about to get out of that chair. And we say, Dad, please wait, grab your walker. Right? And dad still does it. Hopefully doesn't, but maybe falls. And, we hear these stories every day. But did you have this information? So talk about dementia in three stages: early, middle, late.
Okay.
Early, probably before we notice anything, okay? Middle is when we're living it. We know it's there. We're seeing it every day. In that middle, with Alzheimer's, for example, that person, because of, and it's more about tones, but the hearing has been affected. So in that sentence, Dad, please don't get up, grab your walker, let me help you. 8 to 10 words, maybe. He probably caught 3 or 4 of those words in that sentence. So you could pick any 4 or 3 words out of that sentence, but it's not going to be what you said. So he's maybe not just being
No.
stubborn. Maybe he's not. You get what I'm saying, but we didn't
It,
know that.
yeah.
So
I would, this is just who thinks of this stuff, you know?
right, right, and there's my point. You wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect you to, but this is kind of that. This is a new world, so it's different. So again, the keyword empowerment. Empowerment. You need to have tools in that toolbox because we don't know when. But this is great information. So, and again, this helps you to stay a little calmer. Understand, I may need to adapt my my approach here, uh,
Hmm.
but this is going to lead us to a positive outcome, more positive than we
Yeah.
probably had before.
So good.
So Person-centered care is what it's all about. I've said it already. The person is always bigger than the disease, okay? And it's very
Mhm.
important. So we don't blame everything on the disease, right? Tabitha lashed out and threw her cup at me. Keep
Sounds
in
like
mind,
something to do.
well, yeah, but keep in mind, maybe Tabitha just needs a drink of water.
Mhm.
Maybe no, Tabitha hasn't had a spontaneous interaction today, and she's not able just to say, "Could some human just be with me today?"
Mhm.
Right. So it's about the person, and when we do this, we see that quality of life. Both of us as partners can thrive through this journey.
I mean, I'm considering this from my point of view. If I woke up tomorrow and had very little vision, had trouble hearing,
Hmm.
could not, no one around me spoke my language.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
how am I supposed to get my thoughts and emotions out
Yeah.
without emotion?
Yeah. And you know what happens unintentionally is, think about, Tabitha, if your whole team, we gathered in a room and I said, for an hour you're going to tell me about Tabitha, and Tabitha, you're not allowed to say a word.
Oh gosh.
You already showed me you would have moments where you need to rebut, you need to explain, right? And
Yes.
you can't. I guarantee you, before that hour, you would now be in that frame of mind, right? So
Yeah.
you're exactly right. Yes. This
Uh,
understanding helps us, again, be what we need to be. But without it, I can't expect you to be anything else than, right? But I don't want
feel
you
like
to.
that would be such a good coaching moment
Yeah, oh, it is. And it's
when
funny.
people came in to see you and they couldn't speak.
Yeah, I'll tell you two great exercises I think to do in any team building is, remember the telephone game.
Yes.
So I whisper a phrase or a sentence in your ear, and you pass it, and you doing this for 16 years. It's one of the funnest things because by the time it gets to the end, right? But
Yeah.
that's kind of human nature. And then that other one again, sit in a chair, and we're all going to talk about you. Tell me about her,
Yeah.
right? And you can't
Yeah.
say a word. But again, I always say, if I could touch you and give you dementia, best teacher, right? Well, this
Mhm.
is the closest I can get. Is everything we're talking about.
So powerful.
So let me just break it down, and again, you'll I'm sure be able to see a copy of these slides. But person centered, it does stand for different things,
Mhm.
positive approach, empathy. And really quickly, empathy is not sympathy, right? Sympathy is, you're driving on the interstate and you see that older gentleman on the side of the road in the pouring rain trying to change his tire, right?
Okay.
What's your natural instinct? Oh, that poor guy, right? Empathy, unfortunately, is stopping, helping him to change the tire. So when
Okay.
I'm talking about with dementia care, it's kind of the feelings, the things, right? Putting yourself in their shoes. It's real to them, so it has to be real to you. Walk through it with them. That's empathy, right? And the key with empathy, again, is that's empathy doesn't always come with a fix. So sometimes when I tell people to validate emotions, they're waiting for the and then.
Mhm.
A lot of times that solution may have been that validation, empathy in of itself.
Yeah.
Respect, right? We've gone through this. Individuality is always there.
Mhm.
Sometimes the personality identity gets a little stronger, right?
Mhm.
But Tabitha, I would say you would be kicked out of every facility in West Virginia, okay? And let me tell you why. Because you are a business owner, you are a leader, you're the one to make sure people are doing their jobs. So even if you have dementia and you're 40 more years down the road, you're still going to be Tabitha. And if we
That's
don't give you
interesting.
that identity and give you some job, way of feeling, you're going to be kicked out of every place in West Virginia.
I had never thought about that before. I would be very difficult.
And again, this is just when we have the discussion. Why do we have Bringing Back the Village, right? To have these discussions to change. This is what we're doing, and I love that I can see your face as we're talking, because I guarantee you everybody else watching is doing the same thing. And I'm not a genius. I'm not the one that's brought down the message from the top of the mountain, but I've been trained, I've been mentored, I've learned, I've studied. I've gone to the UK and everywhere in between to pick up and soak up this information. So now I can bring it to
Mm-hmm.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, sincerity, openness. We want to be honest, but again, understand the version of their story is their version. So sometimes giving too much information, like
Mm-hmm.
telling your child um, today that you're going to Disney World in a month, well, you've just created a problem, probably. Excitement. When are we going again? So maybe I give it to him closer to the date, right?
Mm-hmm.
Simple instructions, and again, non-judgmental. We're no judgment zone here. Okay, those are really going to send strong messages. And again, just recapping, what do you need to do?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty simple overall, right? Pretty
Mm-hmm.
simple. Don't expect it to be perfect either. How we get into this and mastering these things is by trying, right? So you're going to have mistakes. You're going to have moments. Sometimes, well, a lot of times with dementia, does it really matter? Is it safe? Are they content? My grandmother one day was picking out tissues out of her trash can and meticulously folding them one by one and laying them down. And I'm a germaphobe. And I walked in and, oh my gosh, right? And I stop because sometimes another rule is stand there, do nothing. Okay. So I'm watching. She's safe. She's content. And about every couple minutes, she'll pause and grab a picture of this baby and turn to me and say, "Isn't he such a sweet baby?" "Oh, he
Oh.
is." And she'd sit it down and she'd continue. Now, the grandmother before dementia would have never done that. Um, it looks a little nasty, but she's content. She's happy. She's safe.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
That's so, so important.
So, and the cans. The cans are the things we always talk about what they can't do, and that's why I didn't want to spend a lot of time on like they can't do this. You know what? They might be able to still do it. It can take more time, but one thing I do is teach you about the abilities that are still there, what we're going to utilize to help them thrive. Right? Senses, all those things. So again, always prepare the person the best way you can. Simple. Assume that they hear everything. So we don't talk about them in front of them,
Mm-hmm.
right? If we're going to include them, include them. Don't have them sitting there and we're having the discussion. No arguing. What I mean is there's no wrong answers. It's believable to them. It's real
Mm-hmm.
to them. You focus on the emotions, okay? And always know what they like to be called, you know?
I remember you talking about this, that you thought it was really insulting that a lot of people refer to like, "Hey, honey," "Hey, baby," and
Well, okay, so I've met people that take it as such. Uh, okay,
Mhm.
so it's individual, but I've seen people fall in that trap so many times, and it's natural to do. Sweetie, honey,
Mhm.
just be aware some people don't like that. My grandmother, to up to her last day, she would look at you and say, "My name is Ruth Ella Mooney Thomas." So now you've got her upset. Now you got her mad. Remember, now this barrier's here.
Yeah.
She's not going to trust you, watch you, right? So that's why I say that. Keep in mind, and here's the bottom line when we're talking dementia. Trust me, if you're not sure, once you do it, you will know, right? Sometimes that's how we find out. So I'm helping you be aware, right? If you do that and get such reaction, remember my words.
Yeah. That's a great one. That's a great
Yeah.
one.
And I think we've talked about all this again, but just reemphasis, this is really important. Your body language, one-on-one is best. So limit distractions when we can. Keep it very simple and allow them time to respond. It takes a lot longer to respond to the simplest sentence sometimes. Do you want a hot dog? I've seen people that it took up to 90 seconds to answer that question. In 90 seconds, a lot of times we may have given up, assumed. I've also seen situations where I walk in the room and now the person's saying hot dog, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
well, I don't know where that's. So my point here is to understand it takes them longer. They could interrupt you because a thought came back, or rule of thumb I give people is if you think there's a dementia, pause 3 to 5 seconds between sentences. I'm not
Okay.
going to say 90 seconds. Just slow it down a little bit.
Got it. Okay. Anything else on this, or you want me to move on? Okay.
We're good. Validation redirection, I'll keep it very brief. And I know there's a visual that they can see is you cannot, here's where we mess up. We go straight to redirection. Let's distract them. They're trying to get out of the building. So we say, let's get some ice cream. Well, trying to escape a scary place and having ice cream, not the same sensation, right?
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
not going to suffice, right? And we don't know the reason why they want out. Validate emotion. Tabitha, I see you're upset. I know you're mad. I know you want to see your mom, right? I'm identifying and acknowledging whatever that is. Now, maybe then we can redirect. But how we do redirect is we make it a we thing. Here's the key, Tabitha. Let's. We're going to. Or I somewhat ask permission. I'd love to sit down. So I'm guiding you, but with respect and dignity. So here's the key, just like that picture, hand in hand. One doesn't work without the other. Okay.
I mean, and that works for people in general.
Oh, a lot of this you can use in your daily life, but it also kind of has the same premise. Be kind, understand. We all have things we don't know about.
Mhm.
How would you want to be treated? So you're right. You are.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, nothing will get me fired up faster than when someone is talking to me and they keep saying, I. When it's something we're supposed to do together, involve me in this language.
Absolutely. It's no different for people with dementia. So this is just a visual of what we just said that people can, copy or take pictures of later.
Okay.
Peaceful dementia. I love this. And again, it sounds so simple, but now you have it captured and you can keep it with you. Feelings are more important than facts. Good feeling is better than any bad feeling. Okay. Person with dementia leads the way. It's their world. You enter it. It's real to them. So we can't argue. Let's go and see where this leads us, but we're in it together. So you hold the keys to the peace. You can create the mood. They're going to mimic you a lot of times. So sometimes you're biting your tongue. Take deep breaths. Readjust as needed, but you really do hold the keys to that peace. Okay, and listen to that person. I tell people all the time, dementia speaks. Listen, watch, right?
Mhm.
If you don't understand the words, what's their face telling you? If I'm giving you jumbled words, but I look like this, I've given you a pretty good hint that I'm not scared, right?
Yeah.
I see you're excited. I'm glad you're happy.
You
Even
know,
okay to say, tell me more. Go with them.
that makes me think too, like, you know, if someone is responding all the time with agitation, like, well, maybe it's because you're coming into them all the time with
That's when we
agitation.
readjust. Exactly. If or when, I shouldn't say if, when those things happen, there's your clue and why I don't expect you to be perfect. I'm reading the signs, so I readjust as needed, right?
Mhm.
Could that have been the right? We've all
Mhm.
had days where we just want to go home and go to bed. When you're a caregiver, you're walking in that facility again, you're walking in mom's house, you know what you're going to get.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's natural to maybe look like you don't want to be there. But
Yeah.
if your goal is to keep them safe, happy, content, then you realize and say, let me try to readjust.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Remember, the last thing in is the first thing out. So no new information. We talk about rehab, someone with a broken hip, with dementia, teaching, right? No
Mhm.
more new information. So let's not expect them to remember to use the walker. Okay. Let's not expect them to remember they've got to call me before they leave, or they have to wear that pendant, we're not taking away dignity, but with what I've explained, how could you expect them to, right?
Yeah.
So again, just keep that in mind. And a gesture is worth more than 1,000 words. So your hands, if you can demonstrate it, if you can mimic it, very powerful message. And learn to make a present of the past. What they remember best is what happened the longest. So we can have conversations about that. When they talk about home, a lot of times they may be referring to childhood home where everything was okay. So it may not be about a physical place, but an emotion. They tell you something's off in my world. Let's talk. So tell me more. Tell me about home is always a great tool just to pull out. You're satisfying the emotion, but you're keeping them safe, right?
Hmm.
And then again, last thing, leave it off with an exclamation point. Person is always bigger than the disease.
Yeah. Those are wonderful tips.
And how you get through daily life. Now, this is like what I'd say communication 101, right?
Mhm.
We can go into deeper levels, but this is what everybody can use. If it's a neighbor, a client, a friend, this is my best guidance. And everything on here we've pretty much talked about. So if you're
Mhm.
like me, visual learner, I just wanted to break it down visually for everybody.
Okay. And again, let's just recap again how people can get in touch with you, who you are, what you do.
Sure, sure. So again, JT Hunter, REMT Care Partner Coaching. You can email me. You can give me a call at 304-553-7557. You can visit our website, and you can also connect with me through our website email. If you're on Facebook, I encourage you to visit our Facebook page, REMT Care Partner Coaching. The point of the website and the Facebook page is to put on information. A lot of these things we talked about, you can find on my website or through my website. Always posting new information and resources on our Facebook page as well. My point here is find a way to get connected if you need to get connected. I have a podcast on Spotify called Care Partner Conversations. The theme is very simple. We talk about those things that are important to us as family caregivers. So you can check that out as well. Again, I just want to make sure people know I'm here if you ever need me. I'm a piece to the puzzle. There's no judgment. I don't tell you what to do, but I'll make sure you have everything you need to know what to do. So, again, you don't have to do this alone. I'm here if you need me.
JT, this was illuminating. Thank
Well,
you so
absolutely.
much. You're my first guest for 2025. And
Oh, honored.
yes, I can't think of a better person to start the year out with.
Well, thank you.
And I know this is going to have a huge impact on so many people. So thank you
Well,
so much.
thank you. And that's all I could ask for, just to help share with others, just like me. And again, anytime, anything, just let me know.
Yeah, and just like I just want to bump that up a little bit, guys. If you're going through issues like this, follow his Facebook page. He puts out lots of videos, lots of information. Reach out to JT. I don't know how many people I send to you a year, but
Oh,
I send a lot. So, all right. Well, you have a wonderful day, and thank you
you
again.
too. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.